Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our preview for Succession Season 4, Episode 10, the series finale, titled With Open Eyes. I'm not ready. I want to close my eyes, pretend that this is just a dream where we're not ending the show this season. We're getting like three more seasons and a Connor Roy spinoff where we just watch him wander around and give speeches to people.
No, it's still kind of just mind-boggling to me that we are at the end of this. I mean, it is 4 seasons, so it's a decent amount of seasons, but I do feel like there was still more story to tell even with Logan's death. I mean, he is definitely, I can feel him missing
Yeah.
since he has died on the show, but just the same, like I'm still completely invested in everything that is going on. I can't believe we're almost at the end. Like, we're less than a week away from the end.
Okay. Well, we'll talk a little bit about the promo, the synopsis, some of the stuff that's out there, kind of like get really big picture with the legacy of Succession as well.
Mhm.
There's so much to talk about in this preview. So hit that subscribe button and know after the series finale is over and we're all sobbing or yelling at the TV or feeling whatever we're feeling, we will be here to talk about it. We will get through it together.
Absolutely. We have a lot of other shows coming up here at the channel next month. I know The Idol is going to be starting up
Yes.
on HBO. It looks very dark, pretty interesting, and we're going to be covering that here. So hit that subscribe button.
Okay, so let's just start really, really big picture here because I think we all know series finales are the hardest thing in the world in television to nail because there's a certain percentage of people out there where if you don't give them the ending that they want, they will proclaim your show to be terrible and they will forget anything that you did before the series finale. Now, some finales are not redeemable. Dexter, I mean, there are other finales, How I Met Your Mother, really bad finale, but I'm still kind of able to appreciate the ride. So even if this finale isn't perfect, I still want to appreciate the ride. I don't want to forget about everything that brought us to this point.
I think this finale is going to be very polarizing in some ways because everybody has sort of the people that they're, ride or die for. Like, if you've been here a while, Roman is the person that I ride or die for. Yes, they're all terrible people. Roman's done some terrible
Yeah.
things, but he's the person that I've been rooting for the most throughout this show, despite all the terrible things that he and everyone has done. But there's tons of people that are like, they want to see Shiv on top. They
Yeah.
want to see Kendall on top. There's the group of you who want to see Greg on top. There's just could Tom be there? Could the whole deal fall apart? Like there are so many roads that I can see by the end that there will be people, if it's, Shiv on top, that there's going to be a part of the fandom that's just like melting down in the corner,
Yeah.
being like, how could they? Right. So I think it's going to be very difficult to stick this landing in a way that everyone's going to be okay with. But Succession is not a show that's afraid. They will pick an ending and they will stick that landing the way that it is, and if you don't like it, oh well. That's sort of how this show is, and I think that no matter what the ending is, that's always going to be the saving grace of this show, is that they are going to pick something whether you like it or not.
Yeah, and I'm prepared to not like parts of it, and I think that's okay. And
This is not going to be the blind spot where at the end of it you're like, I have to make up my own
no,
ending. No.
they're gonna give you something. I will speak briefly to the Greg people who are out there because I've seen this theory a lot over the past 12 hours, including in some of our comments for the review, that Greg is going to be the person that Matson decides will be sort of the American CEO for Waystar Royco because he's a very easy puppet to control.
Mhm.
I understand this. I see it. I accept where you guys are coming from. But the idea that you can still even puppet Greg, he is too weird. I just don't think it's good because he's going to wake up one morning and just sort of be like, well, I think we should kind of do this today, or he's going to go into a meeting and just start like spouting. So it's not going to end well for him either.
I don't know. I've seen the comments of you guys who are like, he's going to put Greg in there. Here's the thing. We never saw how that night actually went with Greg and Matson. We don't know how close they actually got. We just got little weird, funny stories from Greg. But is it possible that Matson's got through to Greg in a way that other people haven't? We have seen Tom puppet Greg for years on this show. I said this a couple episodes ago that the worst mistake that Shiv made with Greg was not giving him an offer, because Greg just wants to have an offer. He wants to be able to continue to move up the ladder, feel secure in his position. And if you give him that, he will play ball. Like, yes, he will hold on to things that he needs to be able to get that offer. Do this, or, I might say something. Cool. Okay. What do you want? Oh, I want this. All right. You have it. Great. I'm not going to say anything. And I think that if Matson did have that kind of night with Greg, then Greg would be a good person to put in that position, because as long as Greg is taken care of, Greg will do whatever you want.
And I guess maybe Matson wouldn't just belittle him constantly like Tom does. That's just sort of the thing. Tom loves Greg because Greg is somebody he could beat up on, because everybody beats up on Tom and he just wants his own punching bag. But I'll also say this, Skarsgård, Nicholas Braun, they're part of the Tall Man Coalition.
Oh, yeah,
maybe
they
they're
are.
just like, hey, Tall Man, we got support of the Tall Man. Maybe this is how we're going to make it work. Now, okay, this episode is 90 minutes long. Like, it is... Obviously, it's got to be like a feature film with everything that the show has still left out there.
There's a lot to wrap up.
Let's get into the synopsis. So, ahead of the final board vote on the Waystar Gojo deal, Kendall and Shiv try to shore up their opposing interests and get a fix on the whereabouts of a physically and emotionally bruised Roman.
Oh, ow. Listen, when we last saw him, I said this in the review, I'll say it here. I thought he was gonna die. Like, the minute that he said, no, I'm not gonna take the car, I'm good, I'll walk. And then he walked into that crowd and he was getting knocked over, punched. Yeah. He's, throwing punches. He's on the ground. I was just like, oh no, like, are they gonna do this where he's just gonna end up dead? Seemingly, no. We've seen him in the finale promo. He's very much alive, but in the synopsis, it does seem like he did not have a good night. No. It didn't work out for him. He is physically bruised. He's emotionally bruised. He's a very broken down person right now.
I think we can take this and, we don't know it for sure, but I think it's pretty clear that the finale is probably going to pick up not very far at all after this past episode, and Roman's still going to be out there. And I think this is a very different position for Kendall and Shiv than I think they've really been in so far, where, they're trying to focus on the future of the company, but, this is still their brother, and Roman is not his father. He's not Logan. Well, Roman is basically just like this. He has grown up in this environment that has sheltered him to such an extent. He's just sort of like, he's like somebody who has grown up in a very little small bubble, and then you're releasing him into the real world. We already know Roman can't handle the real world. Do you remember episode 2 where they went into that karaoke bar and Roman didn't know what to do with himself?
Yeah, that's the thing. Roman is one of the most fascinating characters on all of TV. Yeah. He is very complicated. And I think what we've seen from him throughout, the whole show is that he has used humor as a way to sort of guard himself from all of these things that he thinks and feels. Nobody's taken him as a serious person. And even when he has great ideas and serious ideas, he doesn't even take himself seriously, where he'll give this great idea and he'll be like, oh, I don't know, whatever, who cares, sort of thing. Yeah. And, him emotionally is something that we've seen really very little of. We've seen it here and there, even when he was talking to his dad, where his dad's a little kind of like, what do you have to offer me? Love. It's just, we haven't seen it very often. So to see him broken down like this, him falling apart, crying at the funeral, asking if his father's really in that casket, is he actually in there, the denial, and then watching him take this walk into a crowd and getting into fights. I don't know that Shiv and Kendall are going to know how to deal with this, because I don't think that this is a side of him that they have ever seen, because he has just put up these shutters where he's like Roman the showman, joking,
Yeah.
you can't really get through to him. So I don't know how they're going to deal with it. From the synopsis, it even sounds like at the beginning, they don't even know where he is.
Yeah, it's a big problem, and it's also a problem where who can Kendall and Shiv call for help? You gonna send Tom out there? I don't trust Tom to be able to find Roman. Kendall can't call Jess anymore because Jess is already pieced out, basically, on Kendall. And all of this kind of comes down to sort of my big tinfoil hat for the series finale is
All right.
that we've spent so much time talking a lot about who is going to win Succession, who is going to be on top. I'm looking more at the finale at this point being about who is not going to lose, because I feel like every single person is going to lose big in this finale. It is going to be big, it is going to be messy. I think a lot of things that we have sort of seen throughout the show's run that haven't really come out, this battle for Waystar and Gojo and all, it is going to hit this fever pitch where everything is going to be up for grabs.
Yeah, in the promo, we even saw Matson talking to somebody, basically being like, put on your hard hat. Things are going to get very dirty and very messy. And kind of what you were alluding to here, all these skeletons are going to come boogieing out of the closet
Yeah.
of sort of, we know that what happened with Kendall and the waiter, the only person that really kind of knows exactly what happened is Colin, who we saw Kendall bring in the last episode and kind of be like, hey, you come be with me now. So now he's got, that, but I mean, his siblings know about it. He told them all the sort of intimate details of it. Can they prove it? No, but they can still say it.
Yeah, that is still really damaging.
And then everything about Shiv and sort of the openness with her marriage with Tom. I mean, that's not out there. Could that be something that hurts her? I mean, Jerry knows a few things about Roman that she has brought up. I think it was in season 1 about his trainer, stuff that he doesn't want out there. I mean, how dirty is this going to get?
It's going to get really, really dirty.
Absolutely. It's going to get very dirty.
This is going to be like one of those like mud runs where you see all those like athletes go in, they're just like covered in it. Everybody is covered in it at this point. And I think it's really Jesse Armstrong. Like, this show has always had a satirical sort of edge to it.
Mhm.
And I think he's really going to go all out in this finale and sort of present this message of, if you really want to win in this world, you have to prepare to lose every single other thing along the way. And then, yeah, sure, you can sit on the throne, but what are you actually going to be sitting on that's going to make you happy here? I'll spoiler alert the end of Game of Thrones that everybody hated here for a moment. Are you going to be Daenerys and burn down all of King's Landing, and then you're just sitting on a throne of ash?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, we've seen Kendall in this last episode sort of step into being the new Logan. That it's like, okay, Logan was this guy who, bore on the floor all kinds of horrible
Yeah.
things, but he was very powerful and he was able to change a lot of lives with his money and his power. Kendall,
Yeah.
even in this promo, is kind of like, there can be only one king. There's going to be only one person wearing that crown. Why shouldn't it be me?
All right, here's the one person who's going to be reasonably happy coming out of the finale. Connor. And it's not because
It's because he has nothing to do with any
he
of
has
this.
nothing to lose. He doesn't need love. He's already said it. He can just persist on what he already has. He can go off with his money, not have to worry about but I think in general, my joking love of Connor Roy aside, like, I think the people who do stand to gain the most in the finale are those who have fought the most against the idea of getting all of this power. Like, it's possible somebody like Frank or Carl, who have been, a part of the operation, may be able to walk away even relatively unscathed, but they've had their own measures of greed as well. Like, this whole show has been about the idea that power corrupts absolutely, and we're gonna kind of get all that rot sort of just like coming up to the surface. I really have a lot of faith that this is gonna be an iconic, epic episode.
Yeah, I'm also very curious to see where things are going to end for Tom and Shiv. I mean, there was a little bit in the promo where it seemed like there were some apologies, very genuine apologies that were coming forward. I mean, I've been saying for a while, like I think that that fight that they had and put everything out there, they've said every terrible thing that they possibly could,
Yeah.
was something that needed to be said because their relationship had not been very honest from the minute that we met them. They were both holding on to things that they weren't saying, and just it wasn't honest, and now it is. And I think that they are going to go forward together. I mean, this promo gives me a little bit of hope of that.
I think there's a chance, and they've already said there's not going to be a spinoff or anything else. I mean, yeah, they could always change their mind. Somebody
They
could
could.
offer Jesse a ton of money or whatever else. But
Or if he has an idea that he thinks is different enough.
I think if I think if Shiv and Tom end up not being in charge at the end of all of this, and they have to kind of like go and start over, that would actually be a really interesting spinoff to me. Like I would watch the two of them like having to start something from scratch and dealing with all the different ways that they're probably going to screw it up, because it would be funny, but maybe they would actually learn something along the way.
Maybe they'll pick up the 100.
Uh, the 100 has a much better chance of succeeding than Living Plus. I'm just going to throw that out there. But okay, we'll wrap up this series finale preview, but we will be back after it airs to talk through what actually happened. We will have our handkerchiefs, our tissues, as we're just like bawling or screaming at Jesse Armstrong from thousands of miles away.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Thank you to our Patreons, and we'll see you for the finale.